This is the Analysis in Chains with Nathan Williams and Neal Kieran.
Welcome, everyone, to Analysis in Chains by CryptoNews.com, your daily source of all things crypto. I'm Nathan Williams. Today, I will not be joined by Neal because Neal is expecting a new baby any day now. Congratulations, Neal. Neal will be out for probably the next few weeks until his new baby is sleeping through the night, at least. And so you're stuck with me. Today, I wanted to give a little bit of a background on this because I actually saw Neal for the first time in 5 years just over the weekend. I know we've done this podcast together. We've recorded twice a week for the better part of a year. This is episode 90. We have nearly 150,000 downloads. We've joined forces with CryptoNews.com. But even so, I have not seen Neal in person since really 2012. So what happened is I was traveling all last week and I made a stop through Montreal, and we made an appointment to get together for a beer and talk about some crypto goings on, and we were able to catch up in person. One of the things we talked about was an interesting phenomenon that we haven't considered before. This is normally Neal who would discuss this because it's totally his game, his bag. He was reading an article by Tom Lee, or something by Tom Lee, an analysis as to the dynamics of the Bitcoin price and how it works and how it's related to the hash rate. And essentially, it is getting to a point now where it's big enough, the market cap is big enough, and the mining pool is big enough that it is predictable. So if you look at the hash rate, the number of people that are mining a currency, when that really shoots up, often it will happen in response to the coin being overvalued or the coin being popular. And as it shoots up, more and more coins are generated. Simple supply and demand. There's going to be more supply in the market, and the demand will hold steady, and so that will cause the price to drop. And this is a big factor in Bitcoin prices. What happens, though, when the price starts to drop, it stops becoming profitable, and so people will switch off the machines. They'll switch off their mining when it no longer is worth the electricity, and that can be done very, very quickly. And when that happens, again, the supply stays steady, and people see that the price is low, and so they will purchase, and this will cause the price to increase again. And so you end up having these cycles of lower supply, lower demand, lower supply, lower demand, leading to these boom and bust cycles in crypto. But what's interesting is that they've been looking at it, and it looks like it is following these sort of technical dynamics. One thing that I brought up when we were discussing this was the fact that what did I say? I said that, that I know some people that actually do mining. And they don't just switch off their machines when they're not using them. What they will do is they'll switch over to a similar coin, like Litecoin, or whatever happens to be profitable. And so that's sort of the dynamics that go into mining, and why mining has become less of an individual thing and more of a corporate thing, at least in Bitcoin. We also talked about other factors, especially about the Ether price, which has taken a hit this week. And there were a couple of news items, I think, that played into Ethereum taking a hit. One is that Ethereum has a new competitor that is really gunning hard. They're not exactly new. It's EOS. EOS claims 100,000 transactions a second, and they are giving projects money to build on EOS, and they recently decided to sell their Ethereum holdings. And this is a big deal because it means that they're going full competitor. And so the question is, will they be able to deliver their 100,000 transactions a second or not? Right now, it's a claim. Some people think yes, some people think no, but this sort of thing drives the price down. The other event that happened last week that hit a lot of crypto markets and is something that happened in Asia. Now, again, this is me retelling a news story that I saw, but what it was is that there was a economic conference that was going on in China where President Xi was there, and at the same time there was a crypto conference in the same city with the same name, just with like the World Crypto Conference or whatever it was called. They put crypto in the name. And what they did is they brought out someone dressed as Chairman Mao saying, "Hey, I approve of crypto, and I think Bitcoin is great." And that would probably just be a funny joke in the West, but in China, that sort of thing is taken very seriously and very frowned upon. You just don't do that. That caused as big a stir as a PR stunt as the whole Save Droid thing did in Germany back a few weeks ago that we did a talk on, and so people were just disavowing that group that did the event. They said, "Oh, we had nothing to do with that," but people got very nervous about that, and crypto took a hit for that. So that's what's going on. Personally, it was really nice to see Neal in person and discuss these things. It came at the end of a 3-stop tour for me. I had won recently a contest for my startup MindSpider when the prize was to meet Steve Wozniak in San Francisco. I spent 3 hours with Steve Wozniak for lunch. And it was very special because I had this opportunity to not only meet him, but also to discuss with him about my project. I received an email with detailed feedback that he gave when he read over my project details and my application for the contest. So it was good to get his feedback as an engineer and as the legend that he is. We talked over lunch about crypto. It wasn't just me. There was a small group of winners from different countries who had all won in different categories for their startups, and they. We all were able to discuss this, but it was interesting because he's really pro crypto. He not so much for cryptocurrency, but he really believes blockchain is the future. And I'm noticing this more and more is that among big tech people or traditional tech people, there's a real distinction being made between blockchain and cryptocurrency. I understand why it's being made, but it's interesting because a lot of people in the crypto scene themselves, myself included, don't really make that distinction that often. But I can see where it comes from. Yeah, on the one hand, crypto tends to have the connotation of tokens that are just being sold and driven by supply, demand, or perhaps market manipulation, whereas blockchain is the technology underpinning it. But from my point of view, it does. They are really linked. Anyway, we also got to hear Steve Wozniak's famous stories, and he would tell us about his glory days, about starting Apple, about how he really believed in computer games early on, which led him to develop for Atari, and I think he was one of his first games ended up being Breakout, the single-player Pong game, how he developed the Universal Remote, and I think one of the greatest things was his first company he started. He was not the best entrepreneur at the beginning, but his first company was called Dial a Joke, and he got an answering machine and he put a different joke on it every day, and people would be able to phone a number and hear a joke. And he sometimes answered the phone himself, and that's how he met his first wife. And I asked him, what are some of the jokes that you told? And he said, mostly Polish jokes, probably because he's got Polish background. And so we asked him to tell us one of these jokes, and he put on this thick Polish accent. And no offense to my Polish listeners or friends, but here is the joke. He said, "Why did the Polish man die drinking milk? Because the cow sat down." And that was Steve Wozniak's joke. It was a wonderful opportunity. I really want to thank Talent International for setting it up. Talent is a large recruitment agency based in Australia, but with operations in multiple countries around the world. They do recruiting, and they were the ones that set up the contest. It was judged by a panel that included Steve Wozniak and also Sir Richard Branson. And we ended up having a whole week in San Francisco meeting all of the people. Thank you to everyone who made it happen. So with that, we will be back with more interviews later this week. We may end up moving to more of an interview style while Neal is away on paternity leave with his new baby. And once his baby is sleeping through the night, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programs. But don't worry, the interviews with interesting projects will still continue. I will still come out and give updates as I see them, and we'll keep the content flowing. And if you're in Berlin, don't forget to come out to the Blockchain Unpacked events. There's going to be one at the end of June. I want to say it's on the 21st. And we will have a link to that in the description. And until next time, everybody, keep on hashing.